So let us continue our discussion. So you can understand that this methane, the carbon will be sp3 hybridized because it requires 4 orbitals. So we draw the ground state configuration of carbon, and you can see here we have 2s. In 2s we have 2 electrons, and in 2p we have 1 electron each. Now since we require 4 bonds, so we require 4 unpaired electrons, but here we have only 2. That's why we need to promote 1. So in the excited state we show that 1 electron got promoted to the higher orbital, and all the orbitals are now in same energy level and they are undergoing mixing, which is known as hybridization. So you can see the dotted lines I have put included S and all the P's. So it is sp3 hybridized. Now how will you draw the sp3 hybridization? As you can see, the p orbitals, they are px, py and pz. That means they are occupying all the 3 axes. So it is a 3-dimensional diagram. Now 4 bonds are forming, so you may think that 360 degree, if I divide by 4 I'll get 90 degree, but that will not do because you are using a 3-dimensional figure. So what is happening here? To express this 3-dimensional figure in 2 dimension, we follow certain pattern. You can see here these 2 orbitals, they show that the 2 orbitals are in the same plane, just like on the plane of paper. This solid line, this solid wedge shows that it is towards our eyes, and this dashed wedge, this one, show that it is away from our eyes. So that is how we express a 3-dimensional figure in 2 dimension. And each angle out here is 109 degree 28 minutes. So each of the hybrid orbitals here contain 1 electron, and 4 hydrogens overlap with their own electrons, forming 4 CH sigma bonds. So how do we name these bonds? They are ssp3 sigma bond. Why ssp3 sigma bond? Because s orbital belong to hydrogen and sp3 hybrid orbital belong to carbon. So each bond is known as ssp3 sigma bond, and the shape is called tetrahedral or tetrahedron. Tetra means 4, hedron means hands. So if you join all the corners of this particular structure, you will get 4 hands of this. That's why we call it tetrahedron. I think it was quite clear when you have seen the video. So how much will be the S and P character in each of the orbitals here? So the rule is same. You take 100, you write 100. Since there are 4 orbitals, you divide by 4. So 100 divided by 4, you get 25. There is only one s orbital, so 25 into 1 gives you 25%. There are 3 orbitals of p, so 3 into 25 is giving you 75%. So that is what we understand by sp3 hybridization. Next we move to sp3 dehybridization. In sp3 dehybridization, what happens? We have taken the example of PCl5. So presence of d orbital in the atom is must to undergo sp3 dehybridization, as the name suggests. So as you know, phosphorus is having 15 valence electrons. So 15 electrons. So electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3px1, 3py1 and 3pz1. So total valence electron out here is 5. So phosphorus is capable of forming 5 bonds. And chlorine out here, we have written the electronic configuration of chlorine also. So you can see chlorine is having only 1 electron in the 3pz orbital, rest all are full. So only 3pz orbital of chlorine is capable of taking part in bonding. So when we draw the Lewis dot structure, we find that there are 5 pairs of electron around phosphorus. So it requires 5 orbitals. So from where it will get 5 orbitals? It has S, it has P. Though we have not written here D, but you understand that third shell has a d orbital also, though it is vacant. So one of the d orbitals out of 5 will be taking part in hybridization. So we follow the same pattern. Phosphorus in the ground state, you can see we have drawn the energy levels. How did we draw the energy levels? You please check 3s, 3p and 3d. They are one slightly above each other. And here also promotion of electron is needed because we want 5 bonds, but here we have only 3 unpaired electrons. So one electron is being promoted from 3s to 3d, which requires a little more energy compared to the other kind of bonding. Then in the excited state we write sp3d hybridization. So in the sp3d hybridization, what will be the shape? The shape is called trigonal bipyramidal. Now why we call it trigonal bipyramidal? You can see it forms a triangle, then one bond above the axis, one bond below the plane of the triangle. So total 5 bonds. Now if you join these corners, don't you think it will look like a pyramid based on a triangle? So there are 2 pyramids based on a triangle. That's why we call it trigonal. Bi means 2, bipyramidal. And the angle between the triangular planes, they are 120 degree, but the angle made by this is 90 degree. So there are 2 kinds of bond here. One is called equatorial bond. As you can see here, I have written E, equatorial bond. Another is written by A, which is axial bond. Now why they are called equatorial bond? Because if you hold the molecule, it will be parallel to the equator of the earth. So they are parallel to the equator of the earth. That's why we call them equatorial bonds. These 3 are equatorial bonds. And these axial bonds, they are parallel to the axis of the earth. That's why they are called axial bonds. Now equatorial bonds are slightly shorter than the axial bonds, because axial bonds, they suffer bond pair repulsion due to 3 PCl bonds. That's why they are little far away. So they are little longer. Okay. Here you need not calculate these percentages, not very much necessary. But how do you name this bond? To name this bond, you have to remember this chlorine is having p orbital, so it is p. Each of the hybrid orbitals are called sp3d hybrid orbital, so it is p sp3d sigma bond. So far whatever molecules we have done, they don't have pi bonds till now, but we shall be discussing molecules with pi bond as well. Next we move to sp3d2 hybridization, and the example we take here is SF6, sulfur hexafluoride. Sulfur atomic number 16, so its electronic configuration, the valence shell electronic configuration is 3s2, 3px2, 3py1, 3pz1. So here you notice that p orbital has started pairing, and altogether there are 6 valence electrons. So since there are 6 valence electrons and there are 6 bonds, so what will be the hybridization of sulfur? Sulfur will require 6 orbitals. How will it get 6 orbitals? 1 orbital will come from s, 3 of the orbitals will come from p, and 2 of the orbitals will come from d. That's how altogether we get 6 orbitals. That's why the hybridization is sp3d2. So when we draw the ground state configuration, you can see that 3s, 3p and 3d, one above the other energy levels. And if I promote 1 electron from p to d, we get 4 unpaired electrons. But our requirement is 6. So one more electron needs to be promoted from 3s to 3d. So it requires a lot of energy, and that is why only with highly electronegative elements only sulfur can form bond having valency 6. As you know, sulfur is having variable valency. In this situation, it is having valency 2 because there are only 2 unpaired electrons. When you promote 1, you get 4 unpaired electrons, then the sulfur will have valency 4. When you promote the other electron also, then you get 6 unpaired electrons, and at that situation it becomes valency 6. So sulfur will undergo sp3d2 hybridization so that it can have 6 hybrid orbitals, each having 1 electron. So here you can see sulfur, when will form 6 hybrid orbitals, how they will orient themselves? They will orient themselves in the form of a square having 4 orbitals and 1 up, 1 down. That means total, if you join the corners of these up and down, you can see here you have 4 bonds. Here you have 4 bonds. Below also you will have 4 bonds, so altogether you will have 8 bonds. That's why we call it octahedron. Alright. Now what will be the angle? Each angle, as you can see, the square is in the same plane, so total angle out here is 360 degree. So if you divide it by 4, each angle becomes 90. 360 divided by 4 makes it 90. And those orbitals which are above and below the plane, they are also perpendicular to the plane, so all the angles out here are 90 degrees. And each of these hybrid orbitals are called sp3d2 hybrid orbitals. Now since the counter atom out here is fluorine, and fluorine also have one electron in the 2pz orbital, so fluorine is coming with its p orbital and one electron, forming a p sp3d2 sigma bond. I hope the naming of these bonds are clear. We name the bonds in such a way, whatever the orbital used by the combining atom and the nature of the hybrid orbital, these two we combine. So we write P for fluorine and sp3d2 for sulfur, and they are forming a sigma bond. So we call it sp3d2 sigma bond, and the shape is called octahedron. And here also what you have axial and equatorial bonds. These are the bonds along the axis, along the square, which is forming the square. They are parallel to the equator of the earth, and that's why we call them equatorial bonds. These are equatorial bonds, and these two are axial bonds. And here also axial bonds are slightly longer than the equatorial bonds because they suffer more repulsion. Then I have given you homework to try for let's discuss ammonia first, then we'll discuss for the homework. As you can see, ammonia and phosphorus, they belong to the same group 15, because they have 5 valence electrons. So electronic configuration of 1 is 1s2, 2s2, 2px1, 2py1, 2pz1. So you can see there are 5 valence electrons in nitrogen, but how many bonds it is forming? It is forming only 3 bonds. So we draw the Lewis dot structure, and we find that there are 4 bonds around nitrogen, or not bonds, 4 pair of electrons, out of which 3 are bond pairs and 1 is lone pair. But whatever it is, lone pair also occupy a hybrid orbital. So when we consider the hybridization, we must consider the lone pair as well. So since there are 4 pairs of electron around nitrogen, out of which 3 are NH bond pairs and 1 lone pair on nitrogen, it will be sp3 hybridized. But one interesting thing you notice here, when we write the ground state configuration of nitrogen, we find that there are 2 electrons in the 2s orbital and 1 electrons in the 2p, and our requirement is also 3 bonds. So you may think that hybridization is not needed. You must have seen that in the video also. But in the video, what she said is that excitation is not needed. But here please remember, excitation is needed to bring the orbitals to the same energy level. Here very importantly, promotion of electron is not required, because if you promote one electron from here to here also, the status will remain same, that is 1 orbital with 2 electrons and 3 orbitals with 1 electron each. So promotion of electron is not required. And if you go back to the salient features of hybridization, there it is clearly written, promotion of electron is not a essential criteria for hybridization. But remember, the orbitals cannot be empty to take part in hybridization. Okay. So since the hybridization is sp3, the shape will be tetrahedron again. But in the tetrahedron, so you can see in the tetrahedron we have drawn 1 orbital and 2 orbitals in the same plane. One is a solid line, that means it is in front of your eyes. One is a dotted line, which is away from your eyes. But how many electrons we need to distribute now? 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this orbital is already having 2 electrons. So it is a lone pair and it is not capable of taking part in bonding. And the remaining 3 orbitals, hybrid orbitals of nitrogen, are overlapping with the s orbital of hydrogen. So the bond which is forming here is sp3 sigma bond. Now when you write the angle, make sure that you don't show the angle here, because the lone pair is not a bond. There is no atom as such there. So we cannot measure the bond with lone pair. Now normal tetrahedral bond angle is 109 degree 28 minutes. But you notice here we have written here 107 degrees. Now why is it so? Why did we write 107 degrees? Now you have to go back to the concepts of VSEPR, which says that if there is a lone pair, it will repel the bond pairs very strongly. It will repel the bond pairs very strongly. As a result, the angle will reduce among the bond pairs. So the bond angle reduces to 107 degree from 109 degree 28 minutes due to lone pair bond pair repulsion.